When you see West Coast gangs, LA gangs, and Chicago gangs, can you see a difference of the way y'all do things?
Yeah, I stayed in Chicago. Jeff Fort, Larry Hoover. I stayed in Milwaukee, and it's a different ball game. They got a different structure than Crips and Bloods. You got to remember, GDs or growth developments, vice lords. They came up during the era of the '60s, so they got a whole different mentality. They were passing out lunches and everything else. So there's a big difference with a street gang and a gang such as the Gangster Disciples, the Black Panthers. They had a structure, a chain of command, whereas the streets, just like a hoe without a pimp, they renegades.
Gotcha. All right, so here it is. You coming through, you doing your thing, you end up going to prison. What did you initially, how many prison bids did you end up doing? And what
Prison?
Yep.
Because that's adult convictions.
Okay, break it down for me.
You got juvenile convictions.
Yep.
Where you a ward of the court, where they think that they can rehabilitate you and you can go in and out. That's how come I can go out and come back and forth. But once you get 18 or 21, now the game changes where them numbers get longer, the sentences get longer. So now, when we go to talking about my arrest as a juvenile, that was during the era to where the things that we do back then, they get punished for today. This tattoo I got at 14 or 15. But everybody in California get 10 years for the same thing I got. Gang enhancements later on.
Mm-hmm.
We did carjackings back then. That was a way for us to hustle. We couldn't sell. I couldn't at no 13, 14, 15. I don't know nobody with no $60,000, $70,000 to buy cocaine or heroin or none of that. So I got to go take my money. We got a saying, we robbing ice cream trucks or armored trucks at 15. That's our get out. Then you got carjacking. When I was getting arrested for it, it was GTA, sight out. Getting caught with a gun, they give it back to you. Home invasion, regular robbery, 6 months. Murder, 2 to 4 years. So it was a different thing and a different time. But now when I started going to prison and we started the Crips, that's really when the Crips started losing the court. Tookie got arrested in '79. Raymond Washington got killed in '79, and we're all starting to turn to be adults to where what we could get away with as juveniles, now every time we go on, we're getting punished. So I end up with like 8 separate convictions, and I mean convictions, not violations, because I don't do something to where it's going to be a violation. It's going to be a hit or miss. So I started going to prison, and that was a new awakening because now we've been gang banging in juvenile hall. Now we up here where we with the big boys, the George Jacksons, the Fleety Gromgos, the Geronimo Platts, and all these type of guys, the BGF, the Mexican Mafia, the Aaron Brother. We don't know nothing about this. Never. We in the juvenile stages of doing. And so that was a whole new ball game. Now we become the prey. Everybody been waiting on the Crips, but we were juveniles mostly during that era. But now we are starting to come from the juvenile system to where we're starting to get kind of deep. And I never will forget a brother that was a lifer. He was a 7-Up. He was a BGF. And he said, look here, young player, you too much of a player to be coming in here. You kind of smooth. And he told me your ass will wear out before this fence will. But I didn't take heed to it. So I try to get that message out to other people that don't follow in our footsteps, become a taxpayer as opposed to a tax burden.